Hey, why is 6 scared of 7?
Because it's a stupid middle school joke.
Because it's a stupid middle school joke. Okay. Hello and welcome to JudgeCast. This is episode 360. I'm one of your hosts, Bryan, and I am joined this evening, afternoon, morning drive to work by the one and only Charles Feather.
The Boulder says...
What? No, you're on the wrong release notes episode. Bring up show notes for 360.
Hello.
And the one and only Marco Sanchez.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
All right. So we're doing another one of our episodes that's guaranteed to get a ton of views on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because this is gonna be super niche. All right. So a couple of episodes ago, we did, hey, here are things that you as a new L1 should know. And one of those things was how to apply to big events, because that's a thing that you might want to know. And so now we're going to do the other side of that equation, which is you just got accepted to your first large event. Now what?
Oops.
Oops. Yeah, oops, all events. So, whether this is we're going to talk about things that you should know, and this applies to if it's a MagicCon, an SCGCon, maybe a Command Fest, some other large, like an NRG event, maybe something that's not even Magic, like a Riftbound event or some random Star Wars thing. Okay, yeah. So we're going to talk, again, through a Magic lens, but most of this stuff is pertinent to any event, any large event that you go to. So if you are a Yu-Gi-Oh judge or a Pokemon judge, or does Star Wars have a judge program yet?
Oh,
yep.
Yeah. I'm a level 2.
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Or a Star Wars judge or a Riftbound judge, whatever. You can do the thing. All right. So, what do? You just got that acceptance letter. What you do?
Accept it.
I accept.
It actually sounds weird to say this, but I think a lot of us have been on the judge managing side of things, and it's funny how often certain judges who you're trying to get to work for you just don't actually communicate with you. So yes, when you get an offer, respond to it and accept it and let them know you do intend on going, not just tongue-in-cheek wise, but also sometimes you apply for something way ahead of time. Like, for example, SCGCon just had their applications go out for January through March, and acceptances are going to be going out soon for floor judge, and some people might have applied for that a week or two ago. Life changes, things happen, and all of a sudden you might not be able to go even though you thought you would be able to. So either accept it or don't. Let them know either way so that they can plan accordingly and so that you can plan accordingly.
Yeah. Here's the super important thing. Let's say this large event, they need 100 judges for staff, and they sent out 100 acceptances. They're going to quickly start looking to, like, if people say no, they're going to start going to the bench, like the people that they declined. And you do not want to be one of these people that sat on the application for a couple days, and then they were like, oh, must not be interested, rescind the offer, move on to someone else. Because until you accept that offer, you don't have an accord. You don't have an agreement. Okay, so you have sent off your letter. Yes, I would... can I please has event? And they've said yes. You've said yes. Everybody's said yes. What's next?
What's next is I think Marcos mentioned that you want to make sure that you make note of the days that you were accepted for the event. Most large events are multi-day events. Sometimes you won't get all 3 or all 4 or all 2 days. It depends on what's happening. Some days you'll have some events you might have a day in between that you're off. Some you may not get the Sunday, or some you may not get the Friday. For a lot of large events that are 3-day or 4-day events, it's not uncommon, especially when you're a new judge, not to get Friday. Why is that? Well, very simply because Fridays aren't always as well attended, so they don't need as many judges to put on the event. So you often get Saturday, Sunday the first time, or some combination.
Or Friday Saturday.
Or Friday, Saturday, or
realistically,
whatever.
Right.
Right.
Or Saturday only too.
Or Saturday only. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, the big thing is make sure you know what days that you're working, because you're going to need to figure out travel plans.
Right.
Now, what dovetails with travel plans is if there's any shift times. Okay, you're probably not going to get your shift in the acceptance letter. Realistically, they haven't made the schedule yet. So unless you had a restriction in your application, it is best to assume that you are going to be on your first day of work, you're going to have early shift, and on the last day you work, you have a late shift, and then you plan your travel accordingly. That is the safest thing to do.
Right.
Yeah, don't find yourself on Sunday thinking you can leave early to catch a flight and actually realizing, oh, the role you accepted is actually until the hall closes.
Yep.
Bad time for everybody.
Yep. Now, you can wait to book flights, okay? For the whatever
and you
the deal
probably
is.
Should, depending on what the timeline is here, but you're going to go on.
Right. Okay, so you have a little bit of flexibility, but do not sleep on that. There have been a non-zero number of judges that have, forgot to buy a flight. Like, that happens. The funny thing is I'll actually hear stories from players, though, sometimes where for like an event that can sell out, they will buy the flight, but they will forget to register for the event. And so they will have a flight to an event that they can't go to because it capped. Anyway, don't.
Yeah, don't forget to book your flight, but also don't forget to book a room or accommodations, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But you can do one without doing the other; they're not tied to each other. Booking your flight, you should read up on how to book flights and the most optimal time to do it. It's something like flight prices change on Tuesdays, and the best time is generally a month out from your flight to get the best prices, because they do change and they can change a lot. So you want to save, if you can save 50 or $100 on your flight or even more, do it. But the thing, it doesn't always hold true for hotels. Hotels, if you're going and you're going to be staying in a large city, as it gets closer, a lot of times those hotel prices go up and up and up because things get booked. The hotels figure out, hey, there's not only a convention, but there's also a marathon, and there's something else happening, a big sporting event. Hotel prices.
Taylor Swift is in town.
Oh my gosh. Hotel prices tend to only go up. So you can book that almost right away. But yeah, and we're going to talk about this too, but talk to other judges working the event. There's no reason for you to shoulder the whole cost of a hotel room.
Yep. So one thing that is, when you are looking for a hotel/roommate, it is infinitely easier to roll up to whatever communication channel going, I have a room that's super close. It's for 4 days. It's X price. Who wants to share a room with me? Than it is to go into a room and say, like, does anyone have a room? Because then you start getting like people that are like 10 minutes away with an Airbnb or 5. Like it's sort of like DMing. If you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, if you are a DM, it is super easy to find players. If you are a player, it is often very difficult to find a DM.
Yeah.
So take ownership, take control, book that room, and then, hey, who wants to? Now do it quick. Okay, and I realize this is your first event. You don't know people, so you don't know who the bad judges who snore and walk around the hotel room in their tidy whities are. Not gonna name names, but that's, yep.
It happens.
It happens, but absolutely. Get a hotel room as quickly as possible, because yes, to Charles's point, they do tend to go up, and when there are other things going on in town, you can get shut out of convenient places. Some
large events also will have a hotel block. Oftentimes that really is the best way to arrange a room, because that pricing will be already discounted somewhat. There's a lot of different ways to game the system, but figure out what your comfort level is and what you want. I'm older. I don't love sharing rooms. Sometimes I do, and I'll do it with people that I respect and I think will respect me, and I think that's a really important part of the equation. But maybe you don't mind crowding into a hotel room with 5 other judges. blessings on you and your house if that's the way that you roll.
If this is your first event, you're probably a younger judge and more willing to do that.
Yeah, and if you need to save a lot to make it worthwhile, to make it all work out, hey, great. Do you, whatever works out, but know what your restrictions are and figure out accommodations to fit that to the best of your ability.
Yep.
All right. Another thing is, if this is your first event, you may not know a lot of people. Okay. Don't be afraid. Introduce yourself. We don't bite. Most of us don't bite. Talk to people. Don't like overshare, and don't stress though about if you are oversharing. I know that's hard. It's hard to do that. But, get to know people, talk to them, have conversations. Like, we're all judges. You naturally have something in common with the people at this event.
Yeah, we're all there for probably a lot of the same reasons. So find something that you have in common with somebody in the room. I guarantee you there's plenty of things, of people who you have things in common with.
Right. And so if you start a conversation on the Discord or something like that, then be like, hey, I've got a room. Do you want to split? Or, hey, this is cool. Do you want to go to, plan on going to dinner one night? Maybe, oh, hey, there's people going to an escape room on Thursday. Maybe I do that before I buy my plane tickets. Or is there a conference attached the day before, the day after? Spoilers, those things are never announced in enough time for you to actually change your flights or anything like that. They just kind of spring up and you're like, well, sucks to suck. But it is a thing that does occasionally happen.
Yeah, I'm always very tight with my PTO for the number of events that I usually do. So unless they announce those sort of things at the same time as the event, I almost never can make them. And it's just a cost of how I have to interact with doing events. So I kind of just take it on the chin and move on. But if you can make it happen, though, always worth it.
All right. So we've said, like, reach out to other judges, but you haven't been to an event. You don't know a lot of other people. You haven't been. So how are you communicating with these judges?
Any more these days? It's Discord.
Probably the 18th or 19th Discord.
Yeah. All the big TOs have their own Discord. I'm actually looking up at my dual monitor and seeing like 4 or 5 of them in a row that I have in a group. Marcos probably has 20 of them now. But
that.
Discord's a great way for staff to talk before the event and also somewhat during the event. But it's a good way to get connected to other judges working the event. In the old days, there would be some emails, there would be some Facebook messages, which you can still make that work too. But Discord seems to be the soup du jour anymore.
Yeah. I have 21 Discords.
Yeah,
and I think that's
something
low.
along the same. It's a necessary animal because, like, I'll be the first to admit I'm not a huge fan of Discord in general. It's not my favorite way to communicate, but I've kind of learned to roll with it and customize it to be something that I can deal with and not add too much background noise to my already flooded social feeds. So do whatever you need to do for it, but also recognize that when you have an event coming up and you've accepted an offer, you should be keeping those notifications for that channel on, because you don't want to miss important information that might affect your ability to work that event.
So typically within the TO's Discord, there are going to be a few channels for the event. And basically, I like to think of them as business channels and nonsense channels. All right. For business channels, there's going to be like questions for the staff. There's going to be announcements. There's going to be role-specific channels. Okay. Those are business. Okay. Then you're going to have random chatter channel where people are talking about things. Travel stuff is kind of halfway between business and nonsense. Like, there will be a little bit, but you can, there is a channel to help people with travel plans. There, for whatever reason, there's always a channel for cat pics. It's like, okay, what's that term? It's called like carcinization, where it's like everything has a tendency to evolve into a crab. Every judge Discord tends to evolve a cat pic channel.
And I think that's actually the first channel created in some Discords anymore. To
a lot of times,
yeah.
To be fair,
well, yeah, which which just
To be fair,
helps confirm my suspicion that like that toxoplasmosis that like infects people, from like dealing with cat litter. It's basically like the thing that makes like those zombie ants, like that fungus that like makes the ants like crawl up somewhere. It's like whatever it is, it's a bacteria or virus that just makes people get cats. They wouldn't get cats on their own, but they're sick. They're ill.
if you haven't
sorry,
guessed yet,
CJ.
if you haven't guessed yet, B. Prill is a dog person.
I'm very much a dog person, and we probably just got some dislikes on YouTube.
And B,
Yeah,
the
we
truth is that cats are really easy to take care of as a rule, and you can leave them for a couple of days with whatever food is out. My dog, if I left food out, she'd eat it all in the first 5 minutes after I walked out the door, and then she'd be sitting there very sadly looking at her bowl for the next 3 days.
Sure. Yeah, what a great sales point for this pet that you're supposed to love. You can ignore it for days at a time and it's fine. Like
Couple of days.
Like that's a couple days.
Depends on the pet, but
yeah, that's your selling point. It's like this animal's so wonderful you can ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. That's what I want in a pet.
I'm not helping, am I?
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, so you got your Discord. That is probably going to be the main channel for communication. So you want to set your alerts to the business channels, and mostly just read the nonsense channels when you get a chance. There will be a schedule that comes out eventually.
At some point.
Yes. It typically doesn't come out more than 2 weeks before. It's like somewhere between like 1 week and 2 weeks before the event is when the schedule will hit. It's not right. It just is.
Yeah, and you have to think about, like, some of these TOs have so many events running concurrently, or they have so many logistical things that have to happen for each event, that sometimes it's really not feasible for them to put out a schedule early on, especially because you'll get the last minute cancellations. You'll have to move somebody around. Some emergencies will pop up somebody who they were counting on in a key position. So there's that flexibility you have to have for working a large event, because there's just so many moving pieces. And that's kind of an overarching theme to this whole episode, I think, is there are so many moving pieces that things are just going to go the way they go, and you're going to have to figure out the best way you can.
Yep. But while you're in that Discord, take the opportunity to meet people. Judges like nothing more than sharing their information. That's the whole reason for this podcast. Judges love to show how much they know. So if you ask us questions and give us an opportunity to show how much we know, we'll secretly love you for it. And that's also a great way to make friends. It's a real sneaky, sneaky, subtle way to make friends.
Truth.
Yep.
We should do a Sesame Street episode at some point with this. How to make friends.
Will you be my friend? That's what you do. You just walk up to people and go, will you be my friend?
The letter of the day is
works.
J. The number is 6 and 7.
No.
I will not apologize.
Yeah, you did that.
I should though. You should feel terrible. So the next thing is let's see. The next thing is hopefully you find out what you're doing, and sometimes that's in your acceptance letter, and sometimes it's part of the scheduling. Depends on the event, depends on the TO, depends on what they're doing. But oftentimes you're told fairly early on, you are accepted to work the Star Wars main event, or you are accepted to work sides. Find out what you're doing, and then start preparing for the event from that perspective. If you're going to work ODEs, brush up on how to launch drafts. If you're going to be working Comp Rel, start reading that IPG again and again.
Or the equivalent for your game.
Yeah. And if you don't know, just, try and be prepared in general. But a lot of times you're going to get some clue as to where you're going to be assigned fairly early on, because oftentimes it's part of the application process anymore. So you're applying for certain things. And B, it's very hard for them to hire you and leave that air of mystery around, because I think it would probably lead to people declining. Well, I don't know what they want me for. Why would I show up? So generally, what's going on. Generally,
In the large events, you're typically applying to work like Magic, and you might be able to say, I want to work sides, or I want to work this, or I'm okay with
This is true.
anything. I don't necessarily know if you're going to say like I want main event or nothing. Like
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
that happens a
Yeah.
whole lot. And if this is your first event, you're probably going in the I'm just happy to be here, put me in, coach, wherever,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, the larger the event, the less likely it is that you actually really know what you're doing in advance, or more than a couple of weeks in advance. And then even SCG, I'm trying to think of the last time I applied there. I think I applied to work, Comp-Rel at one point, and I don't think I knew until a little bit beforehand that I was accepted for working that part of it. I was accepted to the show, but I didn't know what I was doing, and that's fine. But I do think that sometimes you do have a fairly good idea what's going on. It all depends. And if you do, spend time brushing up on the skills that you need.
Typically, if this is your first event, you are going to be doing regular rail stuff.
Yes.
Generally
And
speaking.
there's a reason.
Right. So most events are broken up into, we'll call them sections, general sections. There's the commander area, okay, because there's enough commander players to get their own area. There's regular on-demand events, okay, these are the events. These are like 4-person or 8-person events that as soon as you get enough people to go, it goes. Then there is regular scheduled events, which are at 2 o'clock. There's going to be a Mystery Booster 2 event. And however many people sign up. There is competitive rules enforcement level scheduled events. Okay. And then there's the larger standalone events like the Spotlight Series or the RC or some destination RCQ. And
Or
each,
in other games like a regional championship or a sectors qualifier or whatever it is for your specific game. But
right.
yeah, regular and a competitive. So a go and have fun and just enjoy the game versus I want to qualify and show how good I am side of the game.
Yep. And each category is going to have its own rules, its own leads, its own structure. So ideally, you will be in the same category for both days. Like if you switch categories, that just changes the stuff that you need to learn. Okay.
Oh, that's a really good point too. Actually, it reminds me of something, and I don't know if it's in here or elsewhere. Oftentimes, if you get accepted for multiple days, you will report to different people, and you'll be potentially in different areas or assigned different tasks, different days. That is normal. Please don't stare into the light. It's okay. You'll be fine. Having different people that you answer to over the course of a couple of days or even 3 or 4 is something that happens to all of us. It's great. It's a good learning opportunity.
And typically your schedule will tell you who you directly report to. So as a new person, you might not know who that person is. And we'll talk a little bit about like how to show up, but you can find that person on the Discord and talk to them in advance if you want to introduce yourself. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so one of the next things is the larger the event, okay, the more complicated it gets. All right, we'll say MagicCons are probably the peak of complexity.
Oh yeah.
And then probably NRG events or Command Fests are significantly less complicated. But big events can have a lot of events happening at once, and the Command Fests can have maybe 100 different things in a day. So you can't be expected to know everything. So read the information that's put out in advance. Like if the TO gives you a document to read it.
And even if your eyes start to glaze over, at least understand where in it you can find information and what information does it contain. I've seen these things that get handed out that can be, 20 pages plus. Get a feel for what's in there. If it's got prize support, if it's got information about when events launch, if it's got who to go to with a particular type of problem. You work at MagicCon, there are 3 different groups that are responsible for 3 different areas. There's the TO, there is Read Pop, and there is Wizards of the Coast. Sometimes you only take a problem A to Read Pop, and you only take problem B to the TO. I think Wizards is mostly worried about the Pro Tour, but there are certain people you take certain things to.
So I'd like to clarify that a little bit. So
Sure.
for the new person, okay, yes, the Magic Cons do give out a large document. Okay, there are only parts of that document that are relevant to you, and you do not know, as a person who has not been to one of these events before, what parts are and are not relevant to you. Okay, which
Sure.
that unfortunately is a problem. You were given a 20-page document. You cannot learn a 20-page document. That's absurd. Okay. However, you do not have the background to know which 15 pages you get to ignore. Okay. So hopefully this podcast will help inform you of the things that you need to know about so that you can skim that doc for the stuff that you do need to know, and then read the headers, read the headings, so that you know what sections exist if something occurs that you need to go look it up.
And I don't know how deep we want to go down this, but the one thing I do want to point out with this is this. If you come across something that you don't know, reach out to your team lead or somebody that's experienced, that's worked MagicCon before. Grab another judge, pull them in. It does not have to be your team lead. Oftentimes, if there's another judge that has worked 3 other MagicCons, they're actually going to know the answer right off the top of their head, and they're going to make it seem like it's simple and a piece of cake. But A, you'll learn something, and B, you'll be able to help the person in front of you, and both things are pretty worthwhile.
Yeah, and one last thing on these documents. If you're the type of learner that, like Charles said, your eyes just glaze over once you get through about 3 pages, that's okay, as long as you can skim and get an idea of where you can go to find information on the day. And, sometimes you just show up on the day, and being there, seeing the room, puts some of the things that are on that document more into context as well. So, like, don't be afraid to revisit that document through the weekend with now the context of actually being in the room, understanding what area you're in, what sort of operations you're doing as a part of the event, because then it might make more sense once you've done it for a day and now you want to be better prepared for the next day.
Or read a page a night and ask questions.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I want to leave this document thing, but at the same time, okay, I don't want to leave it because I want to point one more thing out that you may not realize until the day of. Sometimes information that's presented in the document isn't what's actually happening. Every once in a while, they'll change a prize support instruction or something else. So read the documents, but listen to your team leads, because that's who you have to answer to at the end of the day anyway. And if your team lead says something different, make sure you get the clarification that you need to do the job well.
Yeah, it typically works like this. It is document that you received. Okay, what is public facing to the players, and then if the stage makes a deliberate decision, or maybe it's what the document says, then that gets trumped by what the team lead says, which gets trumped by what the player facing website says, gets trumped by what the stage tells you. That's the chain of follow the instructions.
Order of operations for following instructions. Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds reasonable.
Yep. All right. So now you will be put on a team. Okay. On one of those categories we were talking about earlier. Maybe
Team Rocket
is. What's that?
Team Rocket.
Team Rocket. Yes. You may get additional instructions anywhere from 1 to 7 days before the event, if at all.
Yep.
Okay. Ideally, a week before. Not always. Sometimes the team leads will just decide to YOLO it. And I can't necessarily blame them because typically they aren't being paid for pre-event work either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's good, but they ain't getting paid for it. So if you get anything communication from them, it's kind of on their own time. Which is what you're doing. You're doing all this stuff on your own time too.
And the later the schedule comes out, oftentimes the later this information comes out. It's all a sliding scale. So if you get your schedule information a week and a half, 2 weeks out, which is kind of ideal, then you can expect to get something from your team lead probably a week out or so, when they have time to sit down that weekend and spend an hour writing up an email. But if the schedule doesn't really appear until 5 days before the event, the chances of you getting something from your team lead other than, hey, meet us at table 315, somewhat less.
Yeah, and I think one other big thing about this is you're always going to have a point of contact. Like, you're never just going to be abandoned to the winds. You will always have somebody who you can report to, someone who is going to be a safety net for you, particularly if it's your first event or you don't have a lot of experience at these bigger events, or maybe it's your first time working this particular type of large event. There should always be somebody there, and then probably even someone above them that you will also know who they are. So keep that in mind. Don't get too worried about if you're not 100% sure. You will be able to figure it out on the day.
I'm going to say also you want to make it known if this is your first event. A failing of a lot of judges that have been doing this for a while is they forget what it looks like to a new person. And so they might tend to speak to you like you are familiar with certain things and certain terms that you are not. Okay.
Yeah, they'll tell you to go put up tape loops and you go, what?
What's a tape loop?
Right.
Okay. Right. We're not going to cover what tape loops are over. Yeah. Ask your tape. Okay. Let's try and get you actually to the event. We've been talking a lot of pre-stuff. Communication, Discord, make sure your alerts are set up. You might actually have, in addition to pre-event communication, there might be at-event communications for your various teams. Set up alerts so you don't miss something important. All right. Done. Now, you're packing for the event. What do you need to bring?
M&Ms.
Actually, yes. Snacks, food to keep yourself going is not a bad thing. But we're not going to go into full judge kit.
Right.
One thing you definitely want to bring, or at the very least ask about if you don't know, what is the uniform that is required for this event? Everybody has a very different policy on what the judge outfit, the judge uniform is going to be, depending on the TO. You know, sometimes they can get pretty loose. Like, for example, there was a MagicCon recently that was in Las Vegas where it was over 100 degrees every day. They allowed you to just come in shorts and just use the standard issue t-shirt that they provide all their staff. So they weren't too worried about what you were wearing as long as you were comfortable and able to do the job.
You just completely negated one of my points that I was going to make a little bit later.
Yes, Blast. And I love
that. But it's the reality of what things are like right now. Like the standard long-standing uniform, quote unquote, for a judge has always been just the mono black outfit, the black shirt, the black shoes, the black pants, the black belt, everything all black, so that you can just kind of sneak up in the shadows and jump out for a deck check. I don't know, but that is like the historical judge uniform to start. But not every TO is doing that. In fact,
that hasn't been the case for 7 years.
I've still had to pull out the black on black as early as a couple of weeks ago. So it's still a thing that can be asked of you.
Sure. But at the same, typically what happens is we're going to say, okay, black pants, black shoes, black belt. You can't go wrong with that. Okay.
Yes.
If you do not care or do not want to know or do not know what your TO is expecting, that right there, black pants, black shoes, black belt, easy peasy, done. Okay. Yep. Shirts, by and large, TOs now provide, at the larger events, provide shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For shorts, if you ask a TO if you can wear shorts, like barring 100-degree temperatures in Las Vegas, if you ask the TO if you can wear shorts, they're going to begrudgingly tell you yes, you can wear shorts, mainly because of like labor laws and like dress codes and whether or not you're a contractor or an employee kind of laws. However, if you go to an event and everyone's wearing black pants, black shoes, black belt, and you're wearing khaki shorts, congratulations, you just became shorts judge.
Yep.
And you don't want that nickname. That's not a good nickname to get. Shorts judge, people are not going to learn your name. You're just going to be shorts judge over there.
Yeah. And to
You don't
Brian's
want that.
point, I know I brought up the shorts earlier. However, it was very clearly stated that this was an exception to the typical rule for what it's worth. Like, act and dress as professionally as you want to be seen as a person who is continuously looking to work for this tournament organizer. That's always the safest bet.
Hey,
Also-
how about
Yep.
hats?
Don't wear hats.
I've done hats at an event once, just
Uh,
to say I did, but it's typically not the ideal.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the t-shirts that a lot of TOs are using right now. They change color dramatically when they get a little damp. So if you're a sweater and not like the clothing sweater, if you are a sweater as in, you tend to run a little warm at events. Wear an undershirt. The last thing you want is just like a river down your back of dark blue while you're wearing your light blue shirt.
Or
It's
you
usually
never know.
just a good idea to do that anyway.
Yeah, convention halls can be really cold sometimes too. That undershirt can make you feel a little bit more comfortable. It works both ways. You should always wear it. Also, hey, sometimes you get assigned or given your shirt in a room with 30 other people. It's much faster and easier and comfortable to change if you have an undershirt on. You just take off your overshirt, throw your jersey on for the day, and then you put it back.
So I am going to make this comment because I've seen a lot of judges make this mistake, and you as a new judge, okay, are you a shirt tucker or no? Okay, tucking your shirt, you're going to look out and you're going to see a lot of judges that don't tuck in their shirt. Okay,
There are
tucking in your
TOs
shirt.
that have strong opinions about that.
There are TOs that have strong opinions about whether or not you tuck your shirt in or not. I think the people that do have strong opinions are tuck your shirt in. Now, here is a thing that I've seen judges do, and I just want to be okay. There are some judges that are not ashamed to take their shirt off, show skin in a judge break room. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Okay, no one wants to see your nipples. Okay, please don't make that the bumper.
I will not.
Nope, do not. The second thing is, okay, some people, they need to unbutton their pants to tuck their shirt in. There's people around. Go to like a corner. Go pretend you're in the Blair Witch Project and go into a corner and do that. Okay, facing away from people.
Have a modicum of decency and respect in the common judge areas, of which there will not be that many. So
More for
be
more for
mindful
other
of where you are.
More for other sensibilities. Maybe it does not bother you at all, and that's fine. That's great. I'm happy for you. But there are other people that come from different backgrounds than you, and let's try and share the space on a equal footing for everybody.
Yep.
Okay, so we did get a little ahead of ourselves because you got there and got your shirt. But on arrival, some events, okay, whether that's in the case of MagicCon, in the case of like PAX, in the case of I think some multi-day other game events, you require a badge to gain entry. And sometimes that badge pickup starts the day before the event, or it starts at a particular time. You very much want to be aware of if badge pickup opens before your shift. Like if your shift starts at 7 and badge pickup opens at 8, you need to identify that problem before 6:45 the morning you're showing up at 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Showing up late, especially to your first of these events, is not going to go well for you in the long run for certain TOs, especially. Tardiness, like the occasional thing happens, we get it. The first time you get there, ooh, that's not setting yourself up on the right foot to start.
Okay, another thing is convention halls are big. Okay, maybe not the convention itself, but its location at the convention center. They tend to be far from parking.
Mm-hmm.
They just are. So, it might take 30 minutes to get from the parking area to where you're going to be at. Allow for more than this is not going to be a situation where, you just pull up and then walk in the main door, probably not going to be able to do that. So definitely allow for enough time. Don't just expect it's going, once you get in the building, then your walking is done. There's a lot of times, I think at MagicCon Vegas, I think I was staying at the hotel across from the venue, literally as close to the venue as possible. Okay, it still took me 20 to 25 minutes to walk to where I was going to be working.
Yeah.
Oh no, this was in Atlanta. I was staying at the hotel across from the center. It still took me 25 minutes from the time I left my door to walk across the street, enter the building, and then keep walking.
The Atlanta Convention Center is massive. You can easily spend half an hour walking through that building and still not hit the hall you're supposed to be in.
Yep. All right. Okay, so you're walking to the hall. Where do you go?
Look for the signs that say the name of the event, because a lot of these convention centers, you're not the only event in there. They're massive. They book out every single room if they possibly can. So you might be convening with the dance competition down the hall, or the, international business meeting, or something like that.
Just follow the nerds in the backpacks. No, seriously.
That is very true.
Seriously, oftentimes, even if there are multiple groups at a convention hall, you will see your people and it will be reasonably clear. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to say that it's pretty clear. But luckily, also, most convention halls have helpful people in uniform at points of entry that can help direct you to where you need to go. Just be clear. I'm looking for the Magic event. I'm looking for the Pastimes event. I'm looking for the SCG event. I'm looking for the Energy, whatever. You just need to be clear, tell them what you're looking for, and really, seriously, follow your people. You'll see them.
There will often be, if you are arriving before the hall opens, there will be a security person at the door that is keeping the players out. You can just social engineering, just like walk on by, I'm staff, and just keep going. You're fine.
Yep. You may have to have your badge out. That goes back to picking up your badge. Oftentimes your badge will be a different color or say something. Yeah. Yeah. Just have your badge with you and have it on you. Because that's important.
All right. What's next?
Well, there will be a judge area, and this can vary depending on the event. A lot of SCG events, for example, the judge area is usually going to be attached to or directly behind where the main event stage is. That's going to be where they have all their product, where they have all of the shirts that they're giving you for all of your shifts, any things like badges if you're working a regional championship. All that stuff will be very close to the main stage, which usually should be pretty visible from when you walk into the hall. Other events, it might be a little bit different. For example, MagicCon, there is no one main stage because there's so many main stages depending on what you're trying to do. So that'll usually be communicated well ahead of time, or on the morning of, saying, hey, we've set up the judge area behind the blue stage. Go there. And that's where you kind of go to have a semi-secure area to put down your bag, put down your jacket, sit down and have your breakfast if you got there super early and want to eat before you start your shift, that sort of thing.
You can also return there during lunch, or if you have a dinner and you want to eat in the hall, whether or not you get your food out and bring it back, or whether you get your food from one of the convention hall vendors. It is a place generally that you can eat. But, please be mindful of others. A personal pet peeve is when we leave our cups and food all over the place. If it's leftover and you want to save it for later, just keep it neat. But don't leave that cup with the 2 inches of Starbucks left in the bottom of it just sitting there for your entire shift. Pick that stuff up. Thanks.
Yeah, and generally don't leave your bags on the chairs, because what you're telling other people there is, my bag is more important than your ability to sit down.
Yeah.
And there are not that many chairs in the judge break area, trust me. So be mindful of where you stash your stuff. Also remember, some of these events won't have a very secure judge area. So, it might just be a pile of bags that's kind of off to the side of the stage. So be mindful about what you're bringing to the event with you. Maybe day one, you don't bring a whole lot of stuff with you until you're sure that your stuff is going to be safe. Better safe than sorry is always my approach.
Very small pro tip. A lot of judges have a lot of the same luggage. I don't know why. Maybe we all buy it from the same place. Maybe there's only so many vendors. Or maybe we just all like the same backpack. But don't put your stuff down right next to somebody else's stuff that looks identical to yours. Accidents happen. People leave with your things, and then you're sad on your flight home when suddenly you realize that you've got fluffy bunny slippers and not your game system that you're expecting to play. So be mindful of where you put your stuff. Try and remember, and also try not to put your stuff on top of other people's stuff if it's the same stuff.
So stuff you do want to bring, okay? You want to bring a spare shirt or hoodie in case you go somewhere for lunch or dinner. Like be walking around in your staff shirt, eating is kind of frowned on. And then going out to dinner afterwards, you might want to wear something different. Be prepared for poor food options. So if you need some snackies, put them in your bags. And then stuff that you do want to bring, you want to bring pens. Okay. Bring your favorite pens, writing utensils, maybe a Sharpie, water bottle, small notebook. You know, stuff that all this stuff that fits in your pocket, your phone, possibly a battery charger. Okay. You know, maybe, if you want to get fancy, a little bit of extra deodorant. Okay. But you don't need anything else.
Extra socks is the real pro tip.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tech.
But yeah.
The other thing is that Bryan mentioned you don't want to wear your judge shirt when you go out to lunch. You also don't want to wear your judge shirt if you have a break and you're walking around on the floor and you're looking at vendors. Different TOs have different feelings about that, but there are definitely TOs that want you to change into some version of plains clothes if you're going to talk to the artists, if you're going to go and look at the wares at different vendor tables, because they don't want you to, I guess, implicitly or directly imply that the TO directly supports that vendor over some other vendor. I don't know if that's the whole logic behind it, but that's the sense that I have. Show some common sense on that one. Yeah.
If you're wearing your shirt, players are going to assume that you're working.
Yeah.
And if you're futzing around at the vendor booth and not working, and they're calling for a judge, and they see you talking to Rob Alexander, right? It's like, they're just farting around instead of answering my call.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's the big problem.
It's all about the perception.
Right.
So
now if you're gonna run to buy like $15 nuggies and then dart back into the break room, that's one thing.
Nobody cares.
If you're gonna wander around, put a hoodie on. Okay.
Yep.
But again, pens, a Sharpie, small notebook. You will need some paper. Possible phone, not possible phone. Definite phone. Possible battery charger.
Yeah.
Make sure you have pockets. Pockets for days. You are going to have to hold on to a lot of stuff. So make sure pockets.
Don't care how out of style or how unfashionable you think cargo pants are. They're effective and useful. Use them.
Yes. Anything with a hook to carry your water bottle. Anyway, enough about pants with pockets. Let's start off talking about regular rel stuff. Let's assume that you're going to be doing regular rel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or the non-competitive stuff, depending on the type of game you're working for. But yeah.
Yep. Okay. You should have gotten a notification from your lead before, but if you didn't, your lead is going to go over everything at the beginning of the day. Okay. This may or may not be abbreviated based on how well they planned. Okay. So if it seems hectic, it probably is. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end, they should go over the stuff that you need to do, and you should have a rough idea of the tasks for that day, the area that you're going to be working. Questions like, who's your scorekeeper? Do you need to distribute things? And by things, I mean like tickets, promos. When do you distribute them?
What sort of events are you running? Like, are you doing a whole bunch of random drafts? Are you doing scheduled things? Are you doing both? What is your team specifically responsible for is huge.
And then what is your team also going to be responsible for when you cover somebody else's team on break is also huge. Make sure you understand those responsibilities as well.
Yep. So a thing that has become more and more common now. So again, less so with on-demand events, more with the scheduled regular rel, is that judges are being given sheets with their event. So when you go up to the scorekeeper to get your event, they will give you a sheet, and that sheet will have the information about the number of rounds, and it'll have a place for you to write down the round 1 start, round 1 finish, round 2 start, round 2 finish. Okay, and it'll possibly have the prize tick breakdown when you give out prize tickets and stuff like that. Okay, they will give you another sheet of paper that you post on the pairings board, a player-facing thing where you can write down the round end times. All right, but
Hey
that
Brian,
sheet of
what is a pairings board, and where do I find mine? How do I even get them?
Okay, so that's a great thing. Your team lead should be able to identify where the pairings boards are. Pairings boards are boards out in the out yonder on the event that players will be able to go to find their pairings if they do not have the companion app or Melee, which
they're
we'll talk about.
they're often fabric standees. Those things that pop up out of a floor stand.
They can also
oftentimes
be easels,
and
they're
they can be
basically
easels. Yep.
Right. They're just a monument, an edifice, a small little island pillar of some sort that you can just stick stuff onto.
And they should hopefully be near your event, relatively speaking.
Right. Now another thing that some TOs do, is they will have large banners that are, like a story and a half tall, and then you can just move that banner around to wherever the pairings board is. So, like the blue gathering point is, wherever the next event is going to launch, you just move that little blue banner over to that area. Okay, that is a thing that can be done. Other TOs just like, the table numbers in the app. Okay.
Yep.
But pairings, sorry. So that sheet of paper that I was talking about that has all the round times and stuff like that. This is very important. This is your brain. Okay, this sheet of paper tells you how many tickets need to be given out and what rounds. They give you a spot where you can document that you've given them. When you announce the players, you have 50 minutes in the round. You write down the round end time, all this information. And the reason why that sheet of paper is so important is because over the course of the day, this is a fundamental shift in your perception on how events work. When you are running pre-release at your LGS, you are in a little box. These are your players. You're all aware. You are captain of your own ship. You see it from start to finish. It is your event. At these larger conventions, at these larger events, there's going to be a lot of churn. You seldom start and finish an event. Most often, you are given a break right in the middle of your event at some point in time, or you have to relieve someone for their break. And that sheet of paper that has everything written down should be conveying to the person who takes that sheet of paper everything they need to know. You don't have to ask anymore, hey, what round are you in? It's on this sheet. When does round 2 end? On the sheet. Did you already hand tickets out? On the sheet. What tickets does this event hand out? On the sheet. That's your brain.
Yeah.
And you just download it. Super important. Now, I said there was another sheet of paper.
Keep everything in your brain for all the things, even just one team has to do in one day. Just saves your life to have it.
Right. And you might end up over the course of the day having to be responsible for 3 events at a time. That means you're going to have 3 sheets of paper. And if those events are different, well, you just flip between those 3 sheets of paper. Boop, there's my event. Okay. And then the pockets are for the tickets for next round, all that good stuff. Now, I said the scorekeeper was going to give you another sheet that typically has just in big bold letters like round 1 end, round 2 end, and has the name of the event and stuff. This is also very important when you start the round, why we said have a Sharpie, so you can write the end time on the sheet, okay? On that sheet that goes on the pairings board, because this is player facing. Okay, because one of the most common questions you're going to get asked is, hey, when's the round end? Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I'll just be walking by and I'll get that question, but I can look at the pairings board and go, boop, right there. I can send the player, it should be on your pairings board, right over there. Everyone, end time, right there. Because you don't necessarily have clocks. What's next? Let's see here. Tickets. You are probably going to be passing out tickets. Okay, prize wall tickets. A lot of events charge that. So TOs have different strategies. Mostly they are designed so that you can drop tickets at the table and then let the players figure out amongst themselves who gets what.
Yeah, it so certain things like if you're launching commander pods, it'll be you kind of drop them down and you kind of explain whatever the distribution is. If you're running a scheduled side, which could be anywhere between 8 and, or maybe a few less, but 8 and like 32 or 64 players, you might have to have a strategy where you're passing them out to each set of each match that's happening with explanations as you pass them out. It may be that if it's a draft, they have to come to you after they've finished a certain part of it to get prizes. The pick 2 4-person drafts, I haven't done any of those, but maybe they have, a situation where you're handing out tickets even at the beginning because of how fast those things run. I don't know. But handing out tickets is going to be something that you need to understand exactly what your responsibility is. You need to understand exactly how many tickets you're supposed to hand out. The good news is players are pretty savvy. If you're handing out too many, a lot of times you'll have somebody sit there and say, "Hey, wait, Judge, am I supposed to be getting this many?" But knowing how many is just so key. You don't want to be giving out too many tickets, and these days, because tickets are basically they're not, but they're basically currency. I didn't say that. Because they can be redeemed for prizes at the prize wall. You are often given exactly the quantity that you need for your event. So you shouldn't be shorting anybody, and you should be verifying that the amount of tickets when you receive them are the correct amount for what you need to do at the time that you receive them. Did I cover everything? That's most things with tickets.
More or less.
Yeah.
Just make sure, like some TOs are very good about having a same prize ticket structure for every one of their events, and other TOs are just like everything's different. So your lead, if it's everything different land, your TO should have given you a cheat sheet, but you should still double check, right?
Yeah.
It's like trust but verify.
Yeah.
Now, one thing from a paradigm shift, when you are running events at your local store and you are taking pride in your events and you're interacting with the players and you're doing all of that stuff and taking ownership of the event. In one of these events, you are typically going to be running multiple events. And so as a result, your priorities need to shift a little bit. Okay, at a con, at a convention, at a large event. Okay, from I am running this event well to I am starting rounds on time, and I am ending rounds as quickly as possible and flipping rounds as much as possible. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm answering rules questions and interacting with players. That's I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you have a lot of players, things tend to take a long time. So we have to pay a lot more attention to where things are. And there's a lot of opportunities for delays, so you need to be hyper focused on flipping rounds. Okay.
Yeah.
So many also of the timing of how the event goes relies on the expected time an event is going to take being accurate, because you will often see if there's a 1 p.m. modern event, the next time they're going to run a scheduled modern event and it's a 3-round event, very likely it's going to be like 4, maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock. But it should be that if you want to run back-to-back events as a player, you have the option to. And if you slow down that event to the point that they now cannot get into the next of that event that they want, that's not great for the players, because now they're not getting to play as much as they want. And that's not great for the TO, who now is not getting that player to jump into another event with them.
Yep. End of round, which is the topic of another episode that we're going to be doing. But getting that round flipped is super super important. The number of times that I've been going from one event to another and I'm stopped by a player in a third event and they're saying, Judge, do you know where our judge is? We've been done playing for a while. Okay. Right. Now, hopefully the answer is they're up at the scorekeeper flipping the round.
That's
But
the hope.
yep, that's the hope. Sometimes it isn't. And you as new person, well, you want to make sure that that's not you. Like, you want to be aware, hyper aware of when your end times are. So you've got a sheet of paper with the end time. You've got another sheet of paper that's player facing. I would suggest setting an alarm on your phone.
Setting a timer on your watch is
Yep.
also fantastic because you can quickly glance at the counting down ticker as you look at your watch and they go, hey, how much time left around? Oh, you got 18 minutes left. Oh, great. I can go run to the bathroom, whatever.
Okay.
Couple of things here. The first thing is this. We talked about going to the scorekeeper and flipping around. I want to point out, when you go to your scorekeeper, that is one of the points in time where you can actually make or break turning around over quickly. If you go to your scorekeeper and if you say, hey, I'm in charge of an event and I need you to help me turn it over, that's not helpful. You need to say, hey, I have the 3 o'clock event named
3 p.m. Modern. Yep.
3 p.m. Modern. I have the 2:30 whatever. Can you please help me turn my round from round 2 to 3? That's helpful. Okay. You need to be efficient. You need to be clear. And you need to make sure that you have the scorekeeper's attention. But don't wave your hands and yell at the scorekeeper. Just stand in front of them and wait for them to acknowledge you and say, hey, how can I help you? Because oftentimes they're multitasking 3 other things on the other side of the screen that you can't see. So work with your scorekeeper, be helpful to your scorekeeper. Your scorekeeper will be helpful to you, and your event will be turned over all the faster. That's number 1. Number 2 is this. We were talking about end of round a couple of different ways. The one thing I want to mention here is this. The most confusing thing for me as a new judge was, how do I explain to players what to do at the beginning of round 3 before they leave? Do they have to go up together to get their tickets? Do they have to do this to get their tickets? Do they have to? Well, how do they prize out? How do they end their match? Make sure when you're getting your instructions at the beginning of the day that you understand that process for this TO for this event. That's it. Make sure you get it, because they're going to have very specific things that you're supposed to be doing or saying. And if you just do or say what you're supposed to do, everything is golden. But when you mucks it up, when you give unclear instructions, or when you forget to say something or whatever, this is when you also have the people tracking down B Pro on the floor saying, hey, I don't know where my judge is and I don't know what to do because my event's kind of over. How do I get my prizes? What do I do? You really want to be clear about that. Oftentimes for end of round, they have to go to the stage to get prizes, but it all depends on what's going on.
Right. Some TOs structure their last round so that you can just drop ticks off at the table.
That's great.
Others give a bonus if you've gone undefeated. Well, because in Swiss events, pair downs are a thing, you can't just leave ticks on every table, the same amount of ticks. Like, it changes if there's that bonus, right?
Yeah.
It's a few tables. So some TOs require you to go to the prize wall. Some TOs require you to go to the stage if you are undefeated to get your bonus ticks. Okay. Just look at the prizes. If it's not linear, ask your TO, or not your TO, ask your team lead, how do I pass this stuff out? It seems, like you're there to answer rules questions, but in a lot of ways, you are there to flip rounds and pass out tickets. And then maybe answer the occasional rules.
You are a ticket machine. Oh, that's one other thing. We keep talking about this event in these grand terms and taking rules calls and so on. When you're working a regular event, you're working standard, you're working on-demand events, even modern and legacy anymore, and you're working regular REL, don't be surprised if you're not actually getting called over to a table every 5 minutes. This is your first big event. You may think that from the way that we talk about events, or from what you've heard from others, that you're going to be taking calls every couple of minutes. You're going to be bouncing pillar to post. I've only had one experience like that, and it was competitive, and it was at the first round or two of the day, and there were 1,600 players, and there probably, even in that moment, almost weren't enough judges for the event. When you're working sides, when you're working scheduled events, when you're working ODEs, the number of judge calls, not quite non-existent, but it's not a lot. Okay, you're going to feel like the day is passing slowly at points of time. It just does. But be aware, be in your area, be ready to take a call, and maybe you'll get something interesting.
Yeah.
All right, on to, let's talk about some competitive stuff. Actually, before we move on to regular, I'm going to make mention of a very common scenario that's kind of unique for regular rel stuff, because it doesn't, because the fix is kind of different than the competitive side. Missing players. Okay.
Marco, Polo.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
Yeah. So the intercom is bad. Oh, so first off, regular rel events typically run in the companion app for Magic. Competitive rel events typically run in Melee. Players can get confused which app they are supposed to use.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I say that's SCG. MagicCon also does some stuff in Melee, but most stuff in Companion. So players can not hear the intercom. They can be out in the hall not listening. They can be checking the wrong app. There's tons of reasons why players are late. And this is where having a strategy to pass out tickets and promos is important. Making a note of the players that are missing. Okay, so when you get your sheets, your information from the scorekeeper, you have a list of the players, the pairings. You want to see who is missing. Now, in maybe like a event that has flat prizing, it might be 3 rounds and it's just winner gets 100 tickets. Maybe you are empowered to rearrange players on the fly. But if it's something that gives a boost if you go 3-0, nope, you can't move players around. Right.
And the later in the day, the more common it is for them to go missing, especially as they start to get hungry.
Yeah. Well, typically in like the 3-round events, maybe not. That's missing players that no show in the competitive realm, but we have a way to fix that. If you go to start your event, if you, let's say, have the 1 a.m. modern event, and it's got 30 players and 17 players have showed up, that's a good sign that something went terribly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so maybe we make another announcement. Okay. Typically, the first round of each event gets announced, and then nothing more after that. Players are expected to use the sheet with the time on it and be in the right area at the right time, But if you have players that no show, you need to make sure that you do not put tickets out on that table in an empty spot. You are not putting promos out at an empty spot. Okay. You are marking it on your sheet of paper, so when the person comes up to you later and says, I wasn't here, you can check your list and yes, you are correct. If you are running like a mystery booster and passing out, 6 booster packs, do not leave them in an empty spot.
Yeah, no.
Those will disappear faster than you can blink.
And to that point, never leave product unattended on the floor anywhere. But yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep. If you turn around, it'll disappear. But handling missing players, if you have a lot of missing players, maybe look to see about getting an additional announcement. Ask your team lead if you're uncertain. If you have 2 or 3 missing players, if it's like 3%, 5% missing players, go ahead and start your event.
Yep, that's normal.
And at conventions where things are far apart, the further apart things are, the more likely it is that players are going to be late. Sometimes TOs structure prizes to encourage players to be on time. Yeah, that's just a thing that you're going to have to deal with. So be aware, You may have some no-shows, and whereas at your LGS, you can just go outside and find Billy smoking outside. You can't do that at a hall. You have no idea where that player is. And we're not going to call on the intercom and make, 1,500 people listen to you trying to find one person for their 3 p.m. modern.
Hey, Billy, smoking's bad, okay? Give that habit up. Pick up some other habit like playing Magic. Spend your money on that.
Also, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're almost 80 minutes in now. Competitive stuff. Let's say this is your first event, your first large event, and you got selected to work the competitive side of things. Whoa.
Oh boy.
What's different?
Everything and nothing.
There's yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much more structure to the competitive side.
Yeah.
And if it's your first big competitive event, you might not be familiar with that structure. So first and foremost, ask. Find the briefing that you're going to get from your team lead and be aware of what teams are. Because on competitive events, it's usually the main event. It's usually the featured event for this convention, for this event existing in the first place. If you're working on the Spotlight Series main event, guess what? That's why everybody is there. And more seats in that hall are dedicated to players playing in this event than any other event. To that end, there will be so many more judges on it, so much so that you have to delegate specific tasks to individual teams of judges, as opposed to just saying, hey, somebody grab these paper pairings out of my hand and go post them on that board over there.
Yep, because that's not going to happen. Like if you just say someone needs to do a thing, then
Right.
it's either not going to get done, or the 3 people who are just OCD about it are going to make sure it happens every single time.
Yeah.
So
and they will fight each other and do it differently.
yes, everybody has their own idea of the best way to put pairings on a pairings board.
There is only one right way to do tape loops, though.
I was just about to say that there's like 5 different ways that people will argue that tape loop, my tape loop's the best way. It doesn't. There's like 2 or 3 wrong ways, and then the other ways are fine.
Basically.
Okay, so what are some examples of some teams that you might be assigned?
End of round. Could happen. You could be assigned pairings or whatever the being of round is. There's also a clock team at some events, because sometimes there are multiple clocks that all have to be started at the same time. Or that's kind of folded under other things too, though, isn't it?
Typically, there is
depends.
a team that is responsible for the clocks if the clocks need to be started
Simultaneously.
Started that way. A lot of times, though, with technology, it's being relegated to like scorekeepers and head judges.
Okay. And then there's also the deck list team. And sometimes there's a floating team, a team that is designated as kind of a jack of all trades that fills in for breaks or breaks team, however the TO sets it up, that is responsible for giving other teams their breaks. So they have to be experts at end of round, experts at deck lists, and so on. I think that's most of them.
Yeah, odds are you won't be on the breaks team for your first event, but it's not entirely unheard of, because another good thing about the breaks team, while yes, you usually will have quite a few experts at everything on that team, it's also a great way for somebody new to competitive events to understand all of the different tasks that competitive events require.
Sure.
So some people will put you on there as a way to get your feet wet on everything. Some of them will be like, nope, you have to prove that you can handle any team, because you're going to need to make sure that nothing falls apart when somebody goes on break. Just depends.
Right.
And
And
something
also,
else to be aware of.
I missed one
to be
team.
aware of. Oh, you missed a
I
team?
missed one team.
Okay.
I missed just the floor judges. Sometimes there's a team that's just assigned to take calls. They will often be have to help out with other things as well. But sometimes your job is to show up, be there at the start of the clock, and stay there until the last match is handed in.
Okay. Did someone say end of round also?
Yeah, that was the first one I did.
Yep.
Okay. That was the very first one?
Yep.
All right. So I want to touch a little bit more on end of round, and I want to touch on another team that wasn't mentioned, or potentially coverage. Okay,
Ooh,
coverage is
yeah.
Hmm.
something that you're probably not used to dealing with at your RCQs. Okay, coverage does change things a little bit. And what I mean by that is you have some matches that are over yonder, over there. Now you might be on the coverage team where you are doing that kind of thing. Probably not your first event, but as a judge who is working Comparel at a large event for the first time with coverage, you might be surprised if at one point during the day table 18 looks like a double no show. Okay. Okay, just be aware that that's probably not a double no-show. They're probably in the feature match area. So if you have been marking down players as double no-shows in the later table numbers, probably just be aware. Hey, those people are probably in the feature match
Yeah,
area.
they come out of the
Okay.
top. They come out of generally the top 10% or the top 5% of table numbers, especially earlier in the day. Well, very
No,
early in the
no,
day, they
later in the
could come
day.
from anywhere. But later in
Yes.
the day, they definitely come from those top table numbers.
Right. I'm just calling that out because a lot of times you can be looking around and everything looks done.
Right.
Nope, features is still going on.
Yeah.
Um,
And they might be
that
very far away. Like literally, some convention halls, just because of the way they're laid out, they might have them on the opposite side of the hall where you almost never have line of sight on them.
yeah.
So
So just a consideration that you might be looking for a table or looking for a player and not finding them because they are actually in the feature match area.
Yep.
Okay. Another thing that is sometimes different about competitive events that you would not have at your RCQ is shared deck lists. Okay. Some events have shared deck lists, and players are given a lot of times, instead of having a 50-minute round, we have a 52-minute round where they get to spend a little bit of extra time exchanging deck lists. Now, anytime you give players anything to hold on to,
They're going to
you
lose it.
can guarantee that you're going to lose it. Right.
yep.
Okay. So there's also typically like a home for lost deck lists up by the scorekeeper where players are constantly saying like, I kept my opponent's deck list from last round. Like maybe you can look at the pairings and find them and go and give them their deck list. Okay. But that's an extra consideration is, you know, if you are at an event with shared deck lists, it might change the round times. And if you're given 52 minutes, what's tardiness? Okay, we're used to saying tardiness is, at 49 and 40. You have a minute and then you have 10 minutes. Well, when you're given 52 minutes, is tardiness at 51 minutes and 42 minutes?
Yeah.
Probably, based on
Yeah.
the head judge. They might change it. So just if you're unclear, ask. Sometimes with competitive stuff, with scheduled competitive events, you might be at an event that has like trials. Okay, trials before the RC tend to be single elimination events. Okay, so if you are working that kind of event, be aware, single elim. And then something that happens is if I start with 128 players, okay, that's going to take up 6 rows. Then next round, it's going to take up 3 rows. And then next round, it's going to take up 1.5. Okay, at conventions, space is also a consideration. Space is a big concern. We try and put events on top of each other, but when you have single limb events that shrink, events might need to move. A lot of times, maybe the third round or the fourth round gets moved to a special area for events when they get small. So that's just a thing to be aware of. Is I can't hold 128 players worth of chairs for an event that's only got 16 people in it, right?
Yeah. With those areas, and this also goes for regular REL as well, you end up having to play human Tetris quite a lot, where you're trying to figure out, okay, I have 30 players registered for this. Where can I sit 30 bodies in a row where it's not going to interfere with other things that also have to launch in an hour?
Right. Oh, so one thing, you as the first time in your event, you are probably not the person playing Tetris. Okay.
No.
Okay. However, you still need to know what your starting table number is. So whether this is competitive or regular or whatever, your team lead has a plan. Okay. They might decide the starting table number. They might ask you to figure out a starting table number and give it to them, and they will bounce it off of others. So there are multiple ways of doing it. Some are better than others, but the right way to do it is the way your team lead says to do it. Then once you've done it a few times, then you can argue if you think they're doing it wrong. Okay.
Yeah. You can always find ways to improve on things, but especially if it's your first time, understand what the systems are like and why they're in place first, and then you can look for ways to break the rules in a way that helps things work better. But you don't know how to break the rules until you understand why they're there in the first place.
So our next episode that will probably also do poorly on YouTube because it's a very narrow, is we're going to be talking about end of round, most likely. End of round is also very, very different from what you might be doing at your RCQs at your local store, where you can just look out and see who's actually done, and then step behind the counter and see that one match is out, and then you just go outside and you tell Billy, "Hey, get your stupid resulting companion."
Poor Billy.
Yeah, poor Billy. He's gonna get lung cancer, and he's gonna get sassed for not entering his results in. So at large events, that level of control, you can't do it. So there is a whole team that is typically responsible for making sure the players put their results in. Go track down Billy and get his result in. Or when Billy starts to stand up, poof, judge is right there. Hey, can I get you to enter your result? So there are tools that are used for end of round, and they differ between TOs. The two primary tools that are used are Melee and this other tool called Purple Fox. Purple Fox is a web-based application that basically, and we will talk about this more, so you may need to get training on this tool. Like, you may not know how to use Melee on the tournament controller side. You may not know how to use Purple Fox. You will need to learn those things. Neither one is difficult.
Your team lead can and will and should be doing that help with you. They will be doing the training. They will walk you through what you need to know. Just understand that is what they're referring to if you hear somebody say, "Hey, we're using Purple Fox today."
One thing about Melee, because it can be daunting because of how much information is in it, there are ways to optimize what's being displayed. Ask about those. Also, make sure you understand exactly how to get into it and go back to where you were, because every once in a while, your phone will disconnect or crash from it, or whatever phones do, and you'll need to get back into it quickly and able to not look like a fool in front of the players that you're trying to help in the moment. So figure that out. One last thing I want to touch on. Yeah, one last thing I want to touch on, just in general terms, before we completely leave this, is, and I didn't see it somewhere else in the notes, is this. When you're not actually taking a call, when your event is running smoothly and it's small and you have a small amount of free time, look around you, be aware. If table numbers need straightening, if chairs need straightening, and if it's not far away from your event and you're right there, just go ahead and do it. Tables need to be cleaned up a little bit. Players should be picking up after themselves. God love them, but they don't. And why do we do this? Why do I say this? It's not because of the J in judge means janitor. It's because ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to clean our areas. So if you stay on top of it through the day, it's A, less tripping hazards. B, it's easier to get back and forth between tables when you have calls. And C, it just looks nicer and it makes the TO happy. So take care of your area. Take care of your space. Keep an eye on things. Fill the time and do things that will help improve the experience for everybody. Simple enough thing.
One thing to add to that point, Charles, I think the attitude you bring to working these events, especially when it comes to doing the things that are not the quote unquote judging glamorous side of things.
Sure.
Like, yeah, everybody wants to go in and take the call on the feature match at the Pro Tour, that sort of thing. But nobody signs up because they enjoy picking up somebody else's garbage that they stuffed into a table tent. But have a positive attitude and do what you're being paid to do a job. And yes,
on.
that part is a part of it.
I take a certain sick, perverse glee in throwing away half-drank bottles, $7 bottles of Monster, or
Yeah.
like there's something kind of satisfying about like just finding a water bottle, like a half-drank water bottle, and throwing away what is like $4 of 10-cent water.
Oh, I find
But
my satisfaction in picking up a pile of draft chaff, sorting out the lands as I'm walking back to the land station in the trash, and dumping the draft chaff in the trash and putting the lands back where they belong.
the reason I bring up the attitude part is because I'm not even exaggerating on this. One of the first like bigger events I did was an SCG regionals, and literally one of the things that caught the TO, who happened to be the regional coordinator of my area at the time, what caught their attention about me that made them say, "Hey, I probably want to hire him again," was that I just volunteered to say, "Hey, what needs to be done? Oh, we need to fold tablecloths. Yeah, sure, I'll happily go do that," and just went and did it with a smile and like didn't give any lip or give a sigh or anything like that. And they were like, "Okay, cool. That like you're a team player, you're doing the thing," and that's what catches a lot of TO's eyes because let's be honest, you may not have the skill set yet to impress a TO at some of these big events, but what you can do is show them that you're a team player and that you have a positive attitude and that you're in to just make sure things go as smoothly as possible. That stands out.
One other thing I want to talk about before we start talking like a wrap up for the day. You're gonna get a break. You're gonna get 2 breaks. Okay, be sure to take them. You might feel the need, like this is your first event. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to cause a scene. Maybe you know, they say like, "Hey, are you tired? Do you want to take your second break?" And you're like, "Nah, I'm fine." Don't do that. Okay, your pay, those breaks are part of your compensation, like your pay, like you're entitled to them. So take them. If you hang out in the break room because you got your $15 chicken nuggies, you know, take the opportunity to talk to people, meet people, make this opportunity, make friends. Those people that you met on Discord, meet them. Make plans to go to dinner. Ask people if you can join them. You know, that kind of thing.
I have found judges to be ridiculously approachable. Over the many years of getting to work events and getting to work with people, I've only found a couple of people that I just didn't jive with. And hey, you know, you're going to find that. But by and large, the people that they bring on to work events enjoy talking to other judges and talking about things that interest them and nerd them out. It does not have to be about the calls that you took that day. It can be about, you know, the book that they're reading or whatever. I don't care. Make friends. It's not hard. It really isn't.
Yep. Definitely take your breaks, talk to people, have an opportunity to meet people, you know, talk to people on the floor, get to know folks. I know that you're probably feeling a little awkward. Maybe find someone else who this is also their first big event and y'all can be like first event buddies.
Yeah.
So
Share war stories from your first day and see how
Yeah.
it goes.
yeah, you are going to probably have 1 or 2 events that you are responsible for. You are probably going to bounce around between 2 to 5 events. Okay, there's going to be a floor judge, and then eventually your team lead is going to come up to you and tell you that you are cut for the day. Woot!
That means you get to go home, not
Great
that,
time
you
of
know,
day.
you're gonna, you know, meet your untimely demise.
Right, but don't just go back to your hotel room and like Uber eat something and not go hang out with people. People go to these big events. The reason why they come back to these events is because these are people that they like hanging out with, they enjoy having the conversations, and this is not something that you have the opportunity to do all that often.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of this, going back way back in the beginning when we were talking about planning stuff, do not room with players.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
don't
Definitely
travel
not.
with players. I know that there's exceptions, okay, but generally speaking, you are being paid to go to an event. You have to go there. You have to be there a certain amount of time. You have a shift start time. You have a shift end time. Players can flake on the event. They just, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not going to go. Okay, then you're stuck, especially if they were driving or you were counting on them to rely on gas or pay for half the hotel or whatever. If you get a hotel room with another judge, you are getting it with someone who is also on shift, who has to be there. Players,
They're committed.
Yep. Players like to leave early. You might like to leave early, but you can't. So just rooming with players, traveling with players introduces complications and introduces risk. And if you are going to room with players and travel with players, you need to be aware that risk might get realized.
Yeah.
Talking
you don't
corporate
want
speak
to
for a second.
ever ask the TO, oh, my buddy is like scrubbed out of the main event and he wants to leave. Can I leave an hour or two early?
Turns out,
just no.
Yeah, turns out it does hurt to ask, right?
Yes, some things it does hurt to ask. That will hurt you to ask.
Yeah. Okay, so common questions, a super frequently asked question, and this is regardless of whether you're working competitive or regular or any of the other events. Players will come up to you and ask you, hey, I just heard them call for 3 p.m. Modern. I'm picking on 3 p.m. Modern. Or, where is my 11 o'clock Pioneer? Or, where's the RC? Okay, so you want to have a rough idea of the respective areas of where the event types are in. You want to be able to help the player find it. Sometimes there will be a spreadsheet that has starting table numbers, so you can just look up where it is, but that is typically not common to all the judges. So maybe ask your lead, they might have the information, or if you know where the rough events are, you can just look down and say, see those folks in blue down there? That's the competitive rel area. Head on down there. They should be able to answer your question.
And one big thing about customer service, especially because you are a face for this TO. They hired you to help them run a smooth event. And a big part of customer service is if you don't have the answer, it should not take more than one more step for you to get them to the correct answer. You may not have the right answer, but here, let me walk you over to the stage where they have all of the answers. Or, oh, I'm not 100% sure, but let me check with my team lead who has access to this information, who can point you in the right direction.
Right.
So that's a very common question.
If you can avoid it, different TOs have different policies, but if you can avoid it, try not to just say, oh, just head over in that direction and you can get your answer. Be specific, be directional. If you need to point at the stage and say, there's the stage over there, you can go up there, but it all depends on what you're doing. If you have a moment, walk them up there.
So typically what I will do is, if I can walk them, I will.
Yep.
But I might do something along the lines of pointing you, say, see
that
sign. Judge over there with the beard, he's got his back to us, that person. That's the lead for the CompRel area. They have the list of where all the events are.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And it's less of them just wandering around, like spinning around in a circle.
Yeah. Be specific.
But yes, you will absolutely, and you will have situations where players will come up to you and say, hey, where's the 3 p.m. Modern event? And you will look at your watch and it's 4:15. And you're just
or it's 30 minutes before it's going to start.
Or it's 12:30, right. Or if this is MagicCon Vegas, hey, where's the Gavin event?
And okay answer if it's going to be in your general area is hey, have a seat. If it's going to be in 20, 30 minutes, I'm sure there will be announcements soon. Listen for the announcement. And then just kind of stick a pin in knowing where that person is. And if you hear the announcement, you don't see the move, tell them, hey, go over there.
I feel at MagicCon Vegas, I was asked the question, where's the Gavin event? More than I've been asked, can I go to the bathroom in my entire judge career?
Yep, that's a lot.
Wow.
I feel like it. Like that. It's not true, but it feels true. Which, can I go to the bathroom? That's also probably one of the most frequently asked questions you're going to get asked. And what's the answer to the can I go to the bathroom?
Yes. Just not right
just
here,
make
please.
Make note of the time. Yep, just make note of the time and be sure to give them the appropriate extension, which is kind of hard in a world without slips. but some TOs will provide little time extension slips where you can just write down the time extension and leave it on the table with the players, and then you can find it when you're going around at the end and find it.
And unless you know the player, don't be cheeky. Don't be like, I don't know, can you? Like, it's not going to go over as well as you might think.
Yep.
Not everybody is in the cheeriest mood sometimes.
Yep.
I think we covered what time does the round end. That's on the pairings board. Oftentimes the judges should have that on them if it's their event.
Yep.
Let's talk
Super
about
common question.
let's talk about end of the event briefly, and then we'll get into a couple of common scenarios. At the end of the event, let's say it's a 3-day event, and we're mid to late afternoon Sunday, and you can feel things are starting to wind down. There are a couple things that you need to know. First, what's going to start to happen is teardown. Large events will typically have an assigned teardown team or judges that have experience doing teardown and are assigned to do teardown. Teardown will be, some banners will start to come down. Some areas that aren't being used, tablecloths might start to be removed from the tables. Any number of different activities that require closing up. A television monitor that's no longer being used will get boxed. Teardown is cleaning up the event. As things accelerate and as you get closer to the hall closing time, you'll see teams of judges being assigned to doing certain tasks. Expect that if your event has finished, or expect that even if your event hasn't finished, but you have 8 judges in your area and you have 1 or 2 events running, that you will be assigned to do some teardown duties. That's fine. If you've never folded a tablecloth before in your life, you're going to get a lot of practice. It's great. It's not hard. Make sure if you've never done it, ask how to do it. Even if you've done 1,000 tablecloths, ask how to do it because they may want it done a particular way. After teardown, after we're done cleaning things up, or your area's done cleaning up, or they've reached a critical point where they can start to release people and you'll be cut for the day, you need to know how to get paid. If you work at MagicCon, you'll get paid in 3 to 5 business days, or whatever the timeline is. You'll get a check wire transferred to an account. If you work Star City Games, if I'm not mistaken, the current policy is the same as the old policy. You would see Jared or Ward at the side of the stage at the end of the day, or whoever it is that is issuing checks, and you'll leave with your check for the day. Different TOs handle this different ways. Make sure that when your team lead releases you for the day, and if you don't know how to get paid, you ask, because it's a really good thing to leave with your check if you need to leave with a physical check. If you need to sign paperwork to get there. Paperwork. Paperwork could happen before, during, or after. And I've had it happen in all 3 ways. There are some TOs that are going to have you do electronic signatures to do contracts and to do tax forms in advance of the event. There are TOs that are going to have you do it at the event. There are going to be TOs that have you do it some other way. Make sure that in this day and age that you have signed tax documentation generally before you get your check. And if they're not doing that, then I'm not sure what's happening anymore, because you're probably being paid enough that you actually should have to declare something to the IRS.
Yep.
And then lastly, is there a team debrief? Well, that all depends. It depends on your team lead. It depends on the expectations of the event. It depends on how draining the event has been. It depends on whether or not it's Friday or whether it's Sunday, because believe me, there's a difference. Typically, Sunday team debriefs are, hey, did you have a good time? Yes. Okay, see you next time. But
the person doing a debrief has to weigh the advantages, because judges like having debriefs. They like having like a sit down, and they like to hear about the cool, interesting stuff that happened during the day. Like, there was a player that had a seizure. Like, how did that work out? Or there was a bribery DQ investigation. Like to hear about those kind of things. But that's also got to be weighed against the fact that it's like, y'all have been here for 10 hours and and some people just want you to shut up and go home.
Yep.
Like,
Some people want to eat. Some people want to get that plane.
So
and if you
so
have to go,
there's a
tell
balance.
your team lead. Don't
Well, it's
sit
not
there.
even if you have to go.
Yeah, if
It's
you have to
just
go.
there's some number of people that want to have a debrief, and there's some number of people that just want to leave. And so you have to balance the needs of those two groups. So are you going to get a team debrief? Hopefully, if your lead is going to do it, they're going to do it before you get cut. Another thing, jumping back to teardown, okay, there is a difference between, so there is a pace to events that at the end of the day, at the end of the event, there is a point in time where there is more events, or sorry, more judges than there are events.
Yep.
Okay. And you are going to start getting potentially bored. Use that opportunity, talk to judges, make the most of the time. And you can't start tearing down things yet because you don't want to be yanking tablecloths off of tables and players be seeing the crappy wood underneath and pulling signs down while players are still playing. So there typically is a distinction between things things that players notice, don't notice versus things that players do. Okay, they might not notice that you're picking table numbers up in areas where there's no events going on. So you could probably do that early, but you can't take down the street sign table markers. You can't take down the big banners until enough players are out of the hall that it's not that big of a deal.
Oh goodness, picking up table numbers. There's a system for that most of the time. Find out what the system is.
Yes.
Don't just start randomly picking up tables in the middle, table numbers in the middle of the row, or stacking them incorrectly.
Yeah. Don't start destroying things unless you're explicitly told to destroy it.
Yep.
And table numbers on tables, picking those up is kind of destroying things.
Yeah, being over eager about teardown can also be problematic if it's something the TO does not want done.
Right.
So please make sure you are good to start doing it. Then please attack it by all means.
Yes,
but
right, just don't on your own decide I'm gonna go do this. Don't decide to go undo something. That is, if you're looking to show initiative, that's not a thing to show initiative on. Okay, so that's end of event. Then some events have a like a judge party. Okay, if this is your first event, go to it.
Please.
Even if you are tired, go to it. Meet some people, talk to some people. Might be maybe a little awkward because you're a little awkward, but absolutely go, because if you don't and you don't meet people, then next time is just going to be more of the same.
Oftentimes these places will these parties will be at a place with adult beverages. If you're underage, they are at places where you can still be. If you are of age and don't drink and have a strong reason not to drink, that's fine. There are plenty of people there who will not be drinking. It's not something that is a pressured social norm or anything like that. There are plenty of people there that just want to sit there and get their commander on and eat some chicken nuggies. And then there are other people there that would like to have whatever and sit in the corner and brood. Don't brood. Talk to people. As we've explained, make friends, and sit in on a game of Fantasy Realms with some other judges or whatever. Have fun.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to talk about our agnostic common scenarios.
Yes.
Okay. So you are walking by a particular area and it's, Judge, we don't have a judge here for this event. Or where's the paper team? Pairings are coming off of the board. What do you do in those situations?
Hey friend, what event is this?
Yeah. Question one.
Yep.
Because you may not know. And so that is a huge starting point of, you can't help them until you know what it is you need to find.
Yeah. If this is your first event, then it is probably going to be a situation where you want to get your lead involved as quickly as possible. Same thing with paper coming off the printer, unless you are specifically being told to go do something, or you can jump in and say, how can I help? But what you don't want to do is jump in and say, I can fix this, and with no information, start doing things. Like, go and grab the paper pairings and go post them. That might not be the thing that they wanted to do. Don't do that over on your own initiative.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
If
fact,
this
think to yourself, there's a reason they're not doing this right now. I wonder why that is.
it might be that they're just dirtling around and they forgot, but it might actually be also a good reason. So
Yeah, it could be
until
the
you
pairings are wrong and they need to double check that something wasn't misreported and they're specifically holding off. You
So
don't know.
until you get, and this is something that takes a little bit of learning, is there are certain things that you can do that you can just jump in and help with, and there are certain things that is like, I need to be explicitly told. And that maybe that's a team lead, maybe that's the scorekeeper, the TO, the head judge, those type of things.
Yeah, your first event, you don't know what you don't know. So be mindful of that. Ask questions. But there's no reason you can't help. Just make sure that you're being assigned to the task and not just, wrecking something by accident.
All right. Okay. Another common problem is there's just a backup at the scorekeeper, like you're three deep.
Yep.
Okay, great. You're three deep. Wait,
Yep.
like there you go. There's your solution. What you do want to make sure is if you're going up and saying like, "Hey, I'm going to turn 3 p.m. modern," please make sure that you've made sure that all 3 p.m. modern players are done and
And that they actually reported.
right, that you didn't sit there waiting 5 minutes to get the scorekeeper's attention, and then the scorekeeper's like, there's still 2 matches outstanding. And you're like, oh crap, because now you got to walk all the way back and go find those players. Which is another common problem. Like in an event where the pricing is flat based on wins, then maybe you can just say, it's a draw, if you can't find it. Like there's certain things that don't matter. Again, talk to your team lead so that you can figure out how to handle if you can't find players at a regular rel event. At a comp rel event, it's a little bit different. Okay, what's something else?
If you get the random, hey, Judge, there was this water bottle or this backpack or this bag or a deck that has $8,000 worth of cards in it left at the table that I'm supposed to be playing at.
Yeah.
Usually there's going to be a lost and found.
Right. What table number, player? You need to make sure if you don't have table number, it's fine, but having table number is ideal. And when you turn it into the stage, whatever the item is, you make sure that you're telling the stage what the table number was, where it was supposed to be at, because that's the easiest way to reconnect people with stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes you might actually be able to like, hey Judge, I found this at table 86. Okay, and then you go over. You might be able to go turn it into lost and found, but then you can check to see who is at 86, and then next round be like, hey, did you lose something? Now definitely what you don't want to do is say something like, hey, did you lose a binder with a front page of all dual lands? Okay, because if the player didn't, then they can just go up and say, hey, I lost a binder where the front page was all dual lands. Did anyone turn that in?
Yep.
Okay, that's terrible.
Because that's the only way they know how that this is yours, is if you can describe what's in there.
Right. Another thing that you unfortunately have to do is, yes, someone can hand you a binder where the front page is full of dual lands. They can also turn in to you and tell you that they found at table 87 the green dice. Just the one 6-sided green dice, and be like, hey, I found this. And you've got to take that just as seriously as the binder of $8,000 cards. It's that, that green dice, we're going to take that into to that. And also, where is lost and found? Okay.
Yes.
If a player is looking for lost and found over, typically at the stage or at customer service.
Right. Next item is if there's a spill in one of the aisles or on one of the tables, how do you handle that?
I love the janitorial channel in Discord.
Yeah.
A lot of TOs, if they use Discord, they specifically have a channel that is just janitorial, and it's where you report spill at table number X.
It is.
Maybe you include a picture to show how severe it is and how quickly they need to get on it.
It is insane that at large events you need to have a single channel just for reporting players knocking over and spilling liquids.
But
that is a
real
reality.
Thing. If they do not have that channel, there are two different options. Option A is if you are reasonably far from the stage, is letting your team lead know, and then your team lead will tell you what to do, or they'll report it for you. Sometimes they have some means of communicating directly. Or B, and more likely the actual thing that you'll have to do is you'll have to let somebody at the stage know. Again, as with Lost and Found, tell them the table number, where the spill is, because otherwise they just have a janitor walking around with a mop and bucket going, oh, hi, I guess I'm, being paid scale for today and not doing anything.
Player's got a broken chair or a broken table. Okay, broken chairs, typically kind of easy. Just swap out that chair for another chair, and the other chair needs to come from an area that's not going to be used for a bit, and then report the fact that that chair is busted.
Yep.
Or I think even you might even take the chair and just set it off to the side or something along those lines, and then go broken chair here, like in that janitorial channel, record the fact that you did that kind of thing. But replacing a broken chair is not the thing. Is not the kind of thing where you can take initiative in resolving broken chair.
Yeah, if anything, that's good. That's one of the pluses that TO will appreciate.
Yes. Another thing that's kind of common is that random spectator that just moves a chair to the end of the row so they can sit and watch their buddies play at the very end of a row. Okay. Nope, guy, because it's always a guy. My guy, I need you to put that chair back. Where'd you get that chair? Stand up, be polite about it. But yeah, what's going to happen is they're not going to put that chair back. And then there's going to be an event, and the player who's supposed to sit in the seat where that chair is missing. Anyway.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's all about maintaining the space. Make sure that it is up to standards, because players will come through and absolutely obliterate the space very quickly, and it's up to you to combat that the best you possibly can.
Judges are doozers, players are fraggles.
Wow. Gotcha.
Yep. All right.
Kids, go ask your parents.
Yep, go ask your parents. All right, so that is everything.
Yeah.
So much for this. I thought this was going to be a quick episode. Instead, this is one of the longer ones.
Here we go.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to say anything else.
It's worth it. We covered. It's important, and I really hope that this gets out there to not just this is your first Magic event, but like anybody who's coming to Houston in a few weeks for the Riftbound event, where this might be your first major event. Hi, I'll see you there. It should be fun, and I hope this helps.
And yeah, most of the stuff in here is probably helpful. So that's it. We covered everything.
No.
But we covered enough.
But I think we covered enough. We did that thing where we overwhelmed with information.
Yes.
There's too much information in this podcast.
There is.
Yes.
Big thing takeaway. Ask questions, meet people,
enjoy yourself, and learn something.
Learn something. Basically, take every advantage, and don't mess up the prize wall tickets for real. Like that's yes. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah,
learn something.
Really understand what you're doing.
Don't mess with the prize wall tickets. Like stick the landing on that.
Please,
100%.
Please, you'll be a hero for getting that right all the way through on your first event. Yeah. I swear.
It's not that you're gonna be a hero. It's just that you won't be the villain, because that's quite literally,
Fair. Okay. Yeah.
Like I will tell you about an event. Okay, this was at an SCG event. One of the judges, I gave them tickets for an event. They had them in a box, and they set the box down.
Oh no!
And then just wandered off. And then like a half an hour later, I'm like, "Hey, did you pass those tickets out?" "No." "Where are they?" Now we found the tickets. They were in a box in the exact spot that the judge just put them down for just a moment, but they very easily could have just been,
so lucky.
Right. And that was like $1,000 in prize wall tickets that are kind of untraceable.
Converted into a Chandra, life-size card. Yeah.
You want to know, like the quickest way to have a bad time is lose a stack of prize wall ticks.
Yeah.
It's both not the end of the world, but it's not great. Please don't do it. Please make sure you don't put ticks in your pockets. Just keep them with you, and very carefully keep them with you. Anyway.
Yeah, biggest takeaway from this is if you do not know, please ask. No one will ever fault you for asking too many questions because you don't know. They will fault you for making assumptions that lead to problems.
Yeah, and if you have to ask a second time, make sure you're writing it down the second time, because asking the third time is probably also not as great. But hey,
just ask a different
ask.
person. Just ask a different person.
Yeah, that's true.
Then
that's
they
true.
won't. Yeah.
That's true. Just spread it around.
There's your pro tip from Uncle B Prill. Yeah. Just don't ask the same person the question 3 times. Ask someone different.
Yeah, that'll work.
And then you won't. Yeah.
All right. So that's our episode. Join us next time as we probably could possibly talk about end of round. I know that we're kicking the idea around, and it's something that we very much want to do. We have some notes on it. It's likely that that'll be next show, but I'm not positive, so we'll see what happens. Before I get to the complete sending off here, I want to just say, hey, I know that we didn't do a Thanksgiving episode or anything quite like that, but I do want to say that I'm thankful for these guys and I'm thankful for the show, and I'm always happy to be here and help share information for all of you out there. So until next time, you can send us an email, judgecast@gmail.com, like us on Facebook, follow us on BlueSky at judgecast.bsky.social, and on Twitter at JudgeCast. Don't forget to check out our show notes for these links and more, including our YouTube channel where you can find this podcast and our L1 Essentials series. While you're at it, hop onto our Discord server for judges new and old, fans, and anyone who supports the judging community. I'm Charles Featherer, and I keep it fair.
I'm Marcos Sanchez, and I keep it fun.
And I'm Bryan Perlman, and I post dog pics in the cat Discord channel.
You rebel.
Right. Why should the cat owners be the only ones annoying people?